Hi. This is my first experience as well.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of questions coming here, but just now when you talked about you have to figure out what is wobbling your vibration, like with Esther's knees, you were saying, it could be overwork, this, that, whatever belief it is.
We want to say to you, at the beginning, it was always vibration-based. It always starts out as something that could have been dealt with emotion. But if you don't deal with it with emotion, eventually the momentum will carry it into something that then feels tangible, which then seems like it requires an action response. But it always starts with emotion. Emotional imbalances at the beginning of it.
Okay. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's practice. My question is, I feel in confusion so often when I feel terrible and I start searching, was it this, was it that? Like, where am I out of alignment? And then, of course, then I start beating up on myself for being out of alignment and being confused and not knowing what I did wrong to get to feel in such a state.
Let us give you something here, and this applies to everything that we've been talking about this and everything that you're feeling. So this is just a very strong statement to begin this conversation. Momentum is the name of the game. It's the momentum that carries it into more and more and more and more and more and more and more. So anything that you catch in the early stages doesn't develop into something bigger that is unwanted. But catching something in the early stages requires sensitivity to the vibration of those early stages. And so many of you are so busy and are not sleeping enough and are not doing that many nice things for yourself and are in a sort of attitude of service. And so you, just by the nature of your action-oriented world, you get yourself depleted, and then it's hard to find a thought that feels better. But we would like you to just be a little nicer to yourselves. Look for a little more rest. Look for a little more something that feels good to you. Even if it's only 5 minutes that you can stop and sip something that is pleasing to you, take the time to do it and breathe with a sort of thankfulness while you're doing it. Think in terms of energy replenishment, first and foremost, and a lot of the things that have been bothering you will begin to subside. There's another piece to this that we want to contemplate with you, and that is, we touched on it briefly just now. If you accept that you're a vibrational first and foremost, well, that's not the easiest concept to wrap your head around, because you've been used to looking at your action world and looking at your physical things and your physical symptoms or your physical whatever. So to begin all of a sudden viewing things vibrationally is not the easiest thing. But if you will try to view things emotionally and just say to yourself, everything has an emotional basis, which means everything has a relational basis, which means my inner being has an opinion about this and I have an opinion about this, and there is a vibrational relationship between those two perspectives, which can either be alignment and exhilaration or can be resistance and discomfort. So if that's the only thing that you take away from a conversation like the one that we've had going on here today, that will satisfy you for the rest of your life. You will never again not know what it is. So you say, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Well, if you're in a place of resistance where you're not hearing clearly, then you might assume that it is that or that or that or that or that. But the better you feel and the longer you feel better, then the more those moments in time will show you what you need to see. The universe will point right at what it is, what it really is. You'll have an experience that will show you some of it's there, and another experience will say, well, there's more of it's there, and another experience will say, well, there's some more of it. And after a while, you get clarity. You get clarity about what it is. And once you get clarity about what the subject is that's causing the discord within you, then you can do something about thinking differently about that subject. So it's just little by little, and let it be fun. The statement that we would offer if we were standing in your physical shoes regularly every day is, things are always working out for me. And then if you want to get really clear about it, things are working out for me in exact proportion to my allowance of them working out for me. Things are working out for me as good as I will allow by the current perspectives that I hold about things. Now we're getting a little wordy. Things are always working out for me, and to the degree that I allow them to work out, they work out. Someone said, well, how long? What's the timing? Well, it depends on how long it gets you to feel better more of the time. So when you have a moment that feels particularly good to you, and by that we mean clarity or some exhilaration, it's that feeling of not doing anything to cause resistance. Your cork will float on the water. That's what alignment is, unless you hold it under the water. So when you hold it under the water, when you let go of it, it bobs back to the surface. But once you got hold of that cork, sometimes it's hard to let go of it because you feel so justified in hanging on to it. It's about this and this and this. If you don't drag it down there to begin with, it's easier to stay there than it is to let go of the cork. But it ought to be pretty easy to let go of the cork, don't you think? Don't you think it ought to be pretty easy to let go of it, unless you're defending your position because you're trying to get somebody else to join you, to empathize with you? Esther finally gave up on us joining her in her negative thought. She said, Abraham, you just need more information. I'm pretty sure if you had all the information I have that you'd agree with me. But after a few decades, she has come to know we're not going to do that. And if she wants relief from the only thing that makes her not feel good, which is not allowing the fullness of us, then she'll find a way to more often allow the fullness of us. Pretty good, huh? You have something more you want to chew over?
I did, and I forgot it.
You know why? It's no longer relevant. We really like that, when issues just float out of your mind because you're in a different vibrational place.
Hi. I want to tell a story about turning thoughts to things, and also the way that I experienced the thought being a manifestation already. A while ago, maybe even a year ago, I had an idea to write a comedy, a romantic comedy set. I live in Buenos Aires, so set in Argentina and India, where I have a strong connection. And I just told people that much. I have a romantic comedy, Argentina and India. I only told one person the actual story, my film producer. And months have gone by. I keep telling people I have this idea, but I wasn't ready to write it or work or move any further, so I never tried. One morning I was exercising and listening to you, and I got the feeling, it would be nice to begin to play with that idea. I would like a gentle nudge, I ask the universe and you, to move forward, so it would be fun to sit down. So that night, I went to the film class that I teach with the producer. We co-teach, and she said, "You're not going to believe what happened today." They had called her from the Indian Film Commission as the only representative. They had come to Argentina to talk to her. Someone from the embassy, she wasn't even clear who it was, someone representing 20 production companies in India, because they're looking for a movie to shoot that's set in Argentina and India. And they went to her, and she's the only person on the planet that knew my story. And she pitched it, and they loved it. And she said, "So now you just have to write it." So, instead of getting scared, I actually just sat down with the intention to receive.
Yeah.
And the scenes came and came and came, and it was delightful and beautiful and wonderful, and it's a great film.
Yeah.
I called her and I said, "It's going great." And she said, "Oh, well, they actually said that they're interested in Mother Teresa and Argentina and India." And I thought, great, because I worked with Mother Teresa in Calcutta. And I thought, okay, let's go. And my producer said maybe it could be about an Argentine nun who goes to Calcutta. With that idea, I sat down, and I got another film immediately, which is about not a nun, but a girl who wants to be a nun, and her parents try to stall her by sending her on a trip around the world. And she says she'll go, but only if she can go to Calcutta with her best friend. So I wrote that whole story, loved receiving, so much fun, all the scenes. I went to my producer, I pitched the idea, she loved it. I knew that my producer had wanted to be a nun when she was younger, and so after she read the story, I said, we could talk about your experience, because I can use that as I write the actual screenplay. I had written a treatment. And she said, well, but did you know that I wanted to be a nun, but my parents sent me on a trip to talk me out of doing this?
So, is there any question about what's going on in this vortex? All the pieces are there. They've all been working together. The cooperative components have been working their way out. And then the most interesting thing, and we know that you mean to go back and speak to this yourself, but we want to stick this in here first, is that we've been talking about how there's this gestating of your vibrational reality and how law of attraction has already gathered the cooperative components, and you heard a scant spattering of those. There are so many more. This is gestating. It's becoming more and more and more and more and more, and the momentum is gathering. The cooperative components have already been set into motion. They're already in place. The Indian and the Argentine and the already cooperative components that have already been gathered, all ready to be gathered. And then one day you get this idea. As you begin letting those thoughts turn to things in your mind. So as that thought comes, as you started to say to us, that was a manifestation that happened to you. Mm-hmm. And then more and more and more and more. This is the way it works. This is absolutely, we want you to know that like our friend's story that you just heard, you have all of those stories too. How all of the pieces of your lives and the lives of the people you know, they're all there. They're all generated. They're all together. It's all so much more. And really, all you have to do is be living happily ever after enough that in this moment and this moment and this moment, in your joy, an idea comes. An idea that is so compelling that you want to do it. You didn't say, I felt that I needed to do it. You didn't say, I was trying to figure out how to do it. Did you hear how her story unfolded? Did you feel the lightness of her being and the readiness of her vortex, and then the readiness of her, and then the coming together of it, and on and on and on it goes. And it's not just one film, it's another, and then another, and another. There's no ending to the joyful journey that will continue to unfold for you. No ending to it. It's not like just wanting something and it's in the vortex and somehow you make yourself to it and then boom, I've got the manifestation. Oh, it isn't like that. There's another and another and another and another. Always something else equally or more wonderful on the horizon for your discovery. It is such a delicious thing, isn't it?